What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another watch list video where I go over my ready list and just some stocks in the market that I'm keeping an eye on my focus list. Obviously, you see here on the right side, I got my ready list that I'm just going to quickly go through here. I'm not going to leave this too long, but I will say there is some nice looking setups going in tomorrow, but you also got a market that as far as the SMH is pretty parabolic, or it's starting to get parabolic. Same thing with the QQQ, like it's definitely starting to get parabolic. So I continue to say this. I just don't want to be packing on too much exposure here. Like, keep your position size 5%. If it's an A plus idea and the setup is so perfect, 10%, it can work. I mean, the market's working, my trade, like everything's working. So why would you not want to, use size if everything's been working? But you also just want to keep in mind that the market's getting extended. So I don't want to just go and pack on a bunch of exposure and hop on margin up here, right? The time to do that was weeks ago. But I don't want to miss out on a lot of these setups that continue to show up every single day and continue to work, right? So I want to keep taking these, and the stocks are acting extremely well. There's so many groups just emerging. Like your rare earths look great. I own like 3 of them. The data centers look amazing, and I own like 2 of those. And then obviously your semis have been leading, and like you got space is starting to come back after kind of going sideways for a little while. Like Rocket Lab looks great. And then you got your uranium, which is another group that I think is another emerging group that's looking really good. So I'm just going to go over all those. That's kind of what my list compile of. But without further ado, first things first. Yeah, like I said, just don't want to pack on too much exposure here. But there's still some good look, like AEHR. This it meets the criteria for a power play, or what many would call a high tight flag, right? Where you get the 100% plus move up and then the 2 to 4 weeks sideways. It's building that sideways, which it's looking really good. And this is the exact sideways. It was definitely buyable today. So definitely want to keep that in mind. I don't really want to chase it too much, but I would say like a pullback, like a nice morning washout would be nice to try to get this name on. Like an inside day tomorrow would be absolutely perfect. But I mean, it's got a double inside day from that kind of kill bar day. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing just go and a breakout. But it's definitely something I'm going to be watching for an early morning washout. To get long, and then just watching through the break of like pretty much the flag or this range in general, or a pullback to the the first inside days high would be nice. Just areas I'm looking for some pullback there. I think this name looks phenomenal, right? And then you got AOSL that I talked about yesterday. Obviously, if you look at the after hours, this thing got absolutely destroyed. That's why we don't buy stocks the day before earnings. If you don't have cushion going to earnings report, going into an earnings report, there's no point of holding it. Obviously, well, we're not out here to gamble. But this name's super illiquid. But I mean, just as far as like the price action of a high tech flag, this thing was absolute model book worthy. You get your massive, you know, 150% move up, and then just a nice 15 or 16% pullback, build it out for 2 to 4 weeks, and then just absolutely explodes today. I did not buy this one today, which I'm happy now. But I mean, before obviously the breakout, I know earnings is tomorrow, probably not something I want to buy. It's also very thin. Maybe wait for some other high tech flags to show up, and I think that's what we're getting. AEIS, nice pullback to the 50 and inside day today. Looks like it could be trying to build a higher low off the 50. You've seen this happen like in your TER, where it kind of pulls back to the 50, not in the cleanest way, but re-breaks out of like that pivot the next day, and just the overall hold of the 50. GLW, excuse me, GLW, kind of like that similar hold of the 50. So I don't mind AES. I think it's something I'll keep an eye on. Don't know for sure if I'd buy it, but just not a bad setup right off the 50 there, and kind of coming right back into that prior area of resistance that was pretty important. So that's right where we kind of bounce off. Could have been one to buy today, right through that pivot, maybe, but maybe a pullback there, early morning washout, or a push below, or a push above the prior day high. Something I'm keeping an eye on. APLD, this name is so strong, I cannot believe I don't own it. But if you guys have watched my watches videos, I've talked about this name every single day. Since I've been starting these videos, and it offered a few really great entries, but overall I just never pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger on other names, but this name I've just kind of let go, unfortunately. But still, you flip to a weekly chart, you got a massive base, right? Huge consolidation. This thing's been consolidating since October of 2025, and it's finally breaking out of it today. I'm really hoping it squats back into the base one more time. That would be nice. Or like a pullback to the pivot, some type of like a few days of consolidation here, and maybe I can look for some sort of a position. But I wouldn't be surprised if this thing absolutely flies, after making a new, I think, all-time high today. a new 52-week high today. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing continue to show up on the new 52-week high list and just be a monster like it has been in the last few weeks. So CCJ earnings today and a nice oops reversal, which put in an inside day. You flip to an hourly, like it doesn't really matter that much, but an inside day tomorrow or like just some tight action tomorrow would be great. But either way, I mean, you get an inside day, you get a nice period of consolidation. You flip to a weekly, you got an inside week, and just overall big move up, nice sideways, and it's trying to build higher lows. Looks like this could be that higher low. So above the prior day high is something I'm paying attention to, and the rest of this group is acting phenomenal. CORZ, really nice gap up on earnings. I feel like this name was a little harder to buy throughout this whole period. Like obviously you could have bought it maybe as in hindsight, like as a breakout of this pivot. But I mean, it's kind of hard to have cushion or like a pullback to the pivot on one of these days. If you bought on this day though, you would have gotten stopped out here if your stop was at lows. So it's just been a little difficult. It started to go sideways, obviously earnings right in the way, but then you get the earnings gap up. So this is a name I'm going to be watching for that high volume close setup. I mean, it had some pretty nice volume today. That I might have to go back a little far to see how big a volume this has been compared to the rest. But either way, really nice gap up, extremely strong theme group, whatever you want to call it. Just super strong. So I'm going to be watching this one over today's earnings high close. I think this could be a perfect setup. And if you look back at AEHR, it was kind of that same thing where it's already up like 5 days in a row and it's almost 10 ATRs from its 50, but it breaks out on earnings, gets the really nice gap up, and there wasn't really, yes, you could have bought this thing a few days before earnings, like the undercut and rally of that pivot area or whatever you can deem an entry based on your risk, but you get the gap up and then it's buyable the next day as a high volume close. And I mean, it makes a massive, 60% move in the matter of like 2 or 3 weeks. So that's probably the same type of setup I'm watching for CORZ, great group, something I really want to pay attention to. Could be offering an entry tomorrow. CRDO, a nice little cup, little base here that it built, and a nice inside day today, watching for a push out of this little pivot. That's probably where I would try to take an entry if I were to, and if it was strong enough. But I mean, this thing's been a monster, very hard to buy this one. Maybe like, you get your gap and then the opening price, right? You can pull right back to that opening price of the gap. There you go, if I can mark that right. And then it probably, if I zoom into a 5-minute, undercuts and rallies that, and that could have been a good spot for sure. But I mean, for me, I was looking for more consolidation. We kind of are getting that. And I mean, this name's so strong. This looks like a really nice momentum type setup, where you bounce right back off the pivot, come back, tight day, and then maybe a push out of that tomorrow. Just watching over the prior day's high could be a setup. FCEL, FCEL. This name is very sketchy, right? It's not super liquid. It's a very high beta name, but I mean, if you flip to an hourly chart, this thing is building higher lows. I mean, you had BB, like all these like super high spec names that have been kind of coming off their lows, getting back above the 200 and making pretty nice moves up. And there's other names, I think like Adam, might be some, I don't know. Don't need to get too much in detail with all the rest, but you got to pivot from that big gap up volume day, and we've been so tight under in that and kind of trying to build higher lows. So maybe a gap up tomorrow, and we'll see how we act. Super small size position, another one. You don't want to put a whole lot of size into a stock that moves 9% per day, and it's not super liquid. So just something I'm keeping an eye on. Don't know if this is something I'd actually trade. GEV, you get the big earnings gap up, kind of washes everybody out that tried to buy that, and wasn't good yesterday. Like it could have been buyable, and then today you would have just gotten stopped out, or you could have re-entered today. And I don't think that was too bad. But either way, you got that high volume close sitting, the earnings high volume close sitting right above today's price. So maybe a push through that could continue higher. You look at the weekly, 2 weeks tight pretty much. You're putting in another inside week, so I think it looks fine. I think this is some decent consolidation for a name that's just really strong and trending, so it could easily just continue higher out of that. HUT, same thing as CORZ, your cores, same group, same earnings gap up, big volume, watching for a high volume close. This is another one where it's like, yeah, this day right here, the breakout of the base, if I flip to a weekly, you get your pivot, kind of just chop around it and then respect it. It's a clear level, right? That's your base level, almost like building higher lows, almost like a VCP. You get the big gap up and breakout day, which yes, it was definitely buyable on this day, but after that, I mean, you could have found a spot in here, but waiting for the earnings report, being patient, and now we get a monster gap up. And I think this is another one, the same setup as CORZ, where you're just watching that high volume close. IGV, still to me, like I've talked about, looks like a bottoming base, and you get the really nice hammer candle right off the 5 day today. But either way, just 2 days tight, or 2 or 3 days tight, and could be playable as a higher low setup tomorrow over the prior day high, or just straight up as a base breakout. I mean, I think this thing looks phenomenal. And then you got Microsoft kind of flagging at the lows. Doesn't I don't want to put too much emphasis on this, although it is, one of the largest holdings, if not the largest holding. But I mean, as far as on the chart, I mean, another one that could possibly be bottoming, but I don't really want to stare at this one too much. Oracle kind of been nice off the lows. Looks like it's maybe trying to rally back into the 200. But either way, I like the IGV's bottoming base. If I don't usually try to bottom pick stocks, but I really, really like this bottoming base, and I think that it could very possibly be bottoming. So just over the base, above that base level, I got 88.58, or just the prior day high could be nice. Lunar, this is a part of that PL Rocket Lab group. I think the Lunar looks really nice. Built a higher low yesterday, inside day today, maybe just a push above the prior day high, and this thing could definitely get going. It's kind of getting tight under that pivot too, right? You made that pivot over here. If you go to an hourly, right, super tight under there. We didn't close above it quite yet, so a push above that tomorrow, maybe it could be an early spot. But either way, just kind of watching that prior today's high, right, the prior day high into tomorrow for like an entry above that, or a nice washout in the morning right to this pivot, which, if you go to the weekly, right, very important pivot, right? So a nice washout that you could have bought it. I mean, this is another one. A lot of these you could have bought today through the pivot. I was busy buying UAMY. What else did I buy today? Okay, I can't remember, and I don't want to sit here and just think. But Lunar, really nice. Nice inside day. So NLR, part of that CCJ group, right? The earnings is out of way for a lot of these now, like NXE as well, which I'll go over. But really, really nice sideways, and a big like oops reversal type day after that really nasty day yesterday. And I was kind of like, damn, that sucks. Maybe it can have a better day tomorrow, and it did. So an inside day tomorrow, a nice morning washout, something I'm paying attention to on like majority of these stocks. I don't want to just buy some massive gap up. NVTS, this thing is just one of my favorite setups right now going into tomorrow. This is meeting the perfect high type flag power play criteria, where you get the massive move off the lows to the 2 to 4 weeks, right? And in this case, we're about 2 weeks starting to get tight, and then an inside day today, perfect opportunity for a higher low setup. The prior day high is sitting below the weekly pivot. It's just the most perfect spot. So looking to buy this one on a washout or above the prior day's high as just a beautiful looking high type flag and one of the strongest groups. I think it looks great, right? Like I talked about, AOSL had those earnings, and same semiconductor group, and now you got NVTS earnings is out of the way, and this thing looks absolutely phenomenal. So really great looking setup as far as a power play, as far as like a name that can just make, and you've seen this in gold last year, right? Was it last year? Or was it the beginning of the year? Gold, or sorry, it was the beginning of the year. Brett, gold before it had its like end of right before it topped, right? It just had that nice parabolic burst where it just absolutely exploded. And you had a HYMC with just a beautiful high type flag, just a massive move up, 2 to 4 weeks of sideways, inside day, and then a gap, and just go. And I mean, this move, it was quick, but I mean, it moved over, it doubled, in a very short period of time. So that's kind of that power play I'm looking for. And I think in this strong of a group, the SMH can for sure continue higher. It's extremely extended, so it's definitely always riskier to buy these ones up here, of course. But if you know your risk, if you can get tight risk, you can always take a beautiful setup like this. NXE, like I talked about, another one where I really would like an inside day tomorrow, or just like, I think an inside day would be great, honestly. It would kind of confirm that higher low. But either way, this uranium group looks phenomenal and something I'm just really stalking and paying attention to. So NXE, maybe on a washout, could pay attention to a name like this. Really, like I said, PL, another one, just kind of like a pullback to the pivot. Could have been viable today. Again, I'm going to say this for a lot of these names because I mean the market was acting phenomenal today. There were so many stocks up. The breadth of the overall market was insane. I think like 40 names are, if I'm not mistaken here, let me go. Here we go. So there are 46 stocks, more than 10x ATR from their 50. So a lot of stocks made explosive moves today, and there's, I mean, obviously with the QQQ up, you're going to get so many stocks up, but either way, there were so many names up. PL could have been in one bot today, but an inside day tomorrow, I don't think that this would be a bad chart at all. I think the weekly looks not too bad. Maybe a washout to the pivot again. I don't know. I don't think we'll get that, but it just strong group, strong name, and something I'm keeping an eye on. But UEC, that same type of I think I love this one even better because it's just got such a nice consolidation after the undercut and rally of that 50 day. So an inside day tomorrow, and I think it would be perfect. But just get maybe a gap down, washout, and then just like a push through the pivot. I would even consider trying some. I think this is another one that has a nice base above its head, nice pivot. So strong group, emerging group, looks great. UFO highest volume ever today, I think. But either way, like that's that space theme. This holds all the space stocks. Really nice. An inside day tomorrow would be awesome. But I mean, this is another one that could have been viable today through that pivot. But besides that, an inside day tomorrow on a lot of these names, just some sort of pullback and these names continue to hold up would be really nice. You know, I think you got Rocket Lab earnings tomorrow. You got CoreWeave earnings. There's so many earnings tomorrow. So there's so many great stocks to end the week with their earnings. So going into next week, we'll definitely have a better idea. URNM, obviously uranium ETF. This is going to hold all your CCJ, your UUUU, your NLR or your NXE, whatever it is, but really nice, super tight under the pivot. Kind of breaks out today at the end of the day after that really nice day yesterday. Give me an inside day, and this would be perfect. UUUU earnings today. I think, yeah, earnings today. Another one. Give me an inside day. Watch for a washout. This could be a great chart. Huge base on U. Just huge base. I mean, it just looks great, man. And this thing reminds me of like what was it, QBTS last year, where it just had such a big base above its head, right? Just a massive base, and it kind of gaps up on earnings and just super tight, and then it's gone, right? So obviously a little bit different because it had a nice day on earnings today, but it wasn't that super big gap up. But either way, an inside day tomorrow, some sort of washout tomorrow, and I think this would be a great name. And then the names that have earnings in the next few days and names I'm just constantly keeping an eye on. Circle looks great. CoreWeave looks awesome. Iron looks awesome. That same super strong AI data center group. MP, like Rocket Lab, these all look phenomenal. I'm gonna let their earnings play out, and then I will think about getting into these ones and find a spot where I can enter them. But without further ado, I appreciate all of you guys for coming through and watching this video, and I will catch you in tomorrow's. Peace.